Hello everyone, I'm Richie and welcome to Helix Cloud Games, and this is SideQuest, the show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the host of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, Mr. Chris.
EA Sports.
It's in the game. And I usually say what we're talking about next, but I think you've already figured it out. But first, quick bit of housekeeping. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon for notification when all of our great shows go live, such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast on YouTube and podcast services every single Monday. Our Thursday night live streams, where most recently we have, at the time of recording, we played some Rainbow Six Extraction, so if you're interested in that game, go check it out. If you want to get this show early, as well as our next episode, which we are recording immediately after this one, two double bill side quests, you can get them early for as little as 99p as a YouTube member, and they will go post as soon as they're live, both episodes. So
Yes.
I'm saying both episodes. This episode you're listening to, so the other episode might be there already for you. If you're not a member, episode 52 you can probably get right now, which is our 1 year anniversary of SideQuest. And anyway, if you have any interesting topics you want us to discuss, you can head, or you just want to chat with like-minded, awesome people, there's a link in the description to our Discord server. Right, Chris, EA 2022.
Before we get into EA, this episode could well have been Activision and Blizzard locking down for 2022.
Yeah. Well,
but we're not doing that episode anymore.
We did talk a bit, I think it was either in last week's SideQuest or last week's podcast, that where Activision Blizzard was one we were considering, but it was further lower down because Activision Blizzard don't have anything on the platform. I can formally announce now that planned episode is canned. There's no point.
We need more topics, so definitely jump in the Discord and let us know what the plan is. But we'll fill that gap, Richie, with an amazing 50-second episode, because as you alluded to, the special guests we've got, you guys are going to know them, but you're going to love them more the same. So check that out. Members get it early. I cannot wait to record that later on today.
I know, me too. But we've got to get this episode done first.
Let's just
get through this one. I'm actually interested in talking about this. I think there's a good topic to be discussed here. So where do you want to jump in? I think the first place is probably the meatiest area where I think we could jump into, and that's BioWare.
Well, before we even do that, we should probably say as well, EA have been kind to Stadia with 5 games, but that we've said many times on the podcast, the main podcast before, that deal that Phil Harrison came out and said we've got 5 titles coming from EA. We've had them now. In fact, the last one came out autumn last year, so we're actually on uncharted territories and waters now, I guess, when it comes to what the future holds.
That is a good backdrop, actually, for this entire conversation. I was probably going to touch on it when we got to the EA Sports block. But, it was announced a 5-game deal. We've had 5 games from EA. So there's no guarantees. None of the games we're going to be talking about today are actually announced for Stadia. As of yet. But... So that's just I think a nice bit of background information that overarches the entire conversation.
Indeed. And again, it overarches all of these SideQuest episodes we have been doing, and it's that the year ahead looks very blank because we've not heard from Square Enix, we've not heard from EA, we've not heard from WB Games, or in fact, full stop, we've not heard from Google Stadia really in 2022 as of yet. So it's all hopes and dreams. But where would you like to start? BioWare?
I think I was going to start with BioWare, but I think we'll go EA Sports first because I think it's just there's a lot of games, but I think the story around most of the games is pretty much going to be the same. So the active EA Sports franchises, and I've taken out the Codemaster stuff, which could potentially fold into that. But so we're looking Madden, we're looking FIFA, NHL, UFC, and PGA Tour, which is announced. There is a new PGA Tour coming. And the last release was 2015, though. So it's been a hiatus, but it's coming back.
Yeah, they announced it as kind of like a big grand comeback, didn't they? Because they took, like I said, it was on hiatus, but I think the 2K golf games do reasonable numbers to merit reviving it. Because again, sports are always evergreen, pun intended. They're always popular because it's sports. It's always every year, seasons. All sports go around in loops, and new fans come about, old fans leave, but there's always a hunger for games for it. Just look at Mario Tennis. That keeps getting entries.
There's a potential question mark over UFC. The last release was UFC 5 in August 2020. And I couldn't find anything concrete about a new one. But there's a lot of rumours that people who are into UFC expecting a cover reveal in May or June. So who's going to be on the front of the box? So you imagine it won't be long after then. So I imagine this is probably a late summer release if it's happening.
Yeah, I think some sports actually benefit from not having annualized releases. Ones that don't have like full roster teams and league tables, where it's just individual fighters in a competition. I feel like those games can benefit more from like bi-yearly releases, if not longer.
Well, you think of like something like PGA Tour as like how much does the PGA Tour change year on year? I think a good chunk of the golfers in it are going to be the same as the previous years. Yeah. So. Same
the locations
UFC.
Don't change that much. They don't have like a uniform or a jersey to change every year. So there's a little bit more wiggle room.
So FIFA and Madden, both on the platform, both had 2 releases. I'd expect them to come again. There's no guarantee, but
I mean, we got 2 FIFAs last year, if you recall, because of the delay of the original launch. And they do great on the platform. They run great. I love the fact that I can just pick up my phone and raise a Kishi and play a game of FIFA on my lunch break at work without lugging around a PlayStation and stuff. And again, the sports games, we've said before, they lend themselves so well to, pardon me, I've got a spare half an hour. I want to play some games. I don't want to commit to anything big or story-based or online where like you're not going to do a Destiny raid on your lunch break because you could be in that for 3 hours. But
some people do.
I mean, some people would love that life. But yeah, the ability to maybe jump in, do a couple of transfers, do some team management, do some training sessions, maybe a match or 2, and then just jump out. That lends itself to cloud and portability so well. And I would love, and I hope so much that we see FIFA 23 come back again this year. We see Madden repeat this year. And more importantly, we get extra sports titles like NHL 23 because hockey's huge as well.
Yeah,
and it deserves its place.
I've seen a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter asking about NHL. Will it come to the platform? It's like, I think it should. Like,
it should.
Yeah, bring it. I must confess, I've never watched a hockey game in my life. I don't really know much about it, but I'd be interested in jumping in.
Yeah,
like we're interested in jumping in Madden when we got a free-to-play weekend. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we did indeed. My brother's a big hockey fan. He loves the NHL games, and I've played with him many times. I don't really know what's going on with the rules, but I know from playing FIFA, get it in the back of the net, and
you kind of have the same feel for it. It's a different sport,
back and forth, 2 teams vying to get the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah,
without a collision.
Let's move on from EA Sports. Let's go down to Codemasters, because Codemasters was acquired by EA last year.
They were.
I was about to say they seem to have 2 main franchises in rotation at the moment: Grid F1 and Dirt. Mm-hmm. Grid Legends is due to release on the 25th of February. No announcement for Stadia, despite Grid already being on the platform.
I think that's the biggest one because it's so soon as well. Like February 25th, that time recording, is literally 1 month away. Yeah. And Grid is so popular on Stadia. Like the racing community embraced that game early doors. It was one of the launch titles, and it's came along leaps and bounds. Its popularity, if you look at some of the statistics, it only ever grows. And the fact that Grid Legends has we've not even seen a peep from it, and it comes out in a month is, again, it goes back to where is our 2022 roadmap for games, because we know nothing.
I'm expecting to put Grid Legends in the growing list of games on Stadia where the sequel didn't come, unfortunately.
Which is not a good look.
That's my expectation, because they haven't given me any reason to believe otherwise. Similar thing, I think, with F1 22, it's expected. It's not. I don't think it's fully confirmed, but there is an expectation that it'll be releasing like around about July, August time.
Well, we didn't get Formula 1 21.
Yeah, We got 20
last year. We got 20, yeah. You got 20 as a pro game, funnily enough, around the launch of 21. And then that led to some people thinking we'll get 21, and it didn't come. So I don't think this one will come back this year.
No, I'm not expecting it. And the last one in Codemasters list is Dirt. The last Dirt game was released in 2020. I put this in there because, like, is it about time we start hearing about the next one? But if they've got two racing games already, Codemasters got 2 racing games coming out this year, that might be a 2023 game.
Yeah, I could see that being pushed back a little bit more. Again, because it's not necessarily stuck to an annualized season.
Yeah,
it has really, a bit more freedom to just grow and develop a little bit more.
It really depends, because we know EA, like the annualized sports games, they could use their other franchises, things like Gothenburg and Criterion, who seem to be focused a bit more on being a support studio nowadays, and both of them have got experience with Need for Speed.
Yeah,
they could help out. It's hard to know.
We could also see a Dirt Rally too, because we know they're pivoted towards the rally games in between the numbered franchises.
I think it's Dirt Rally 3.0 would be the potential next one.
Oh yeah, we've got Dirt
but 2. I don't know whether they just went, Dirt is going to be that game. Who knows? Talking about Criterion, there is an untitled Need for Speed game expected to come out this year. Yeah,
it's weird that Need for Speed was huge when we were growing up, and like obviously one of my favourite games is Underground 2. A bit of that Snoop Dogg Riders of the Storm action, because that came out as we were reaching that age where we were getting close to doing our driving lessons, and what car we were going to buy and what car we were going to do up with a CD player and a USB stick, some LED lights and
underbody LED lights.
Yeah, and we all ended up with like little cheap hatchbacks instead, and living your best 18-year-old teenage life. But like we said, I think racing games for me have took the foot off the pedal a little bit, pun intended, because as you can drive in real life, driving virtually it loses a bit of its pizzazz.
I also think there's a limitation in how you can reinvent a racing game. All you can do is make the cars feel better, make the tracks look better. Yeah. There's not a huge scope for development and refinement.
Yeah, we've seen it with Gran Turismo. Like their sales in PlayStation 1-2 era were like it's the best-selling exclusive of all time, and yet as years gone on, the games undoubtedly have looked better, more beautiful, but the interest has wavered. But then on the flip side, Forza Horizon, if you make the game fun as hell, more arcadey, people will flock to it. It got Game of the Year at Forza Horizon 5 in a lot of places. So whatever this new Need for Speed looks like Heat was lukewarm at reception, the last entry, so they've took a year off, bring it back with some style. And I'd love to see a Need for Speed game on Stadia.
It's interesting because Need for Speed is more like street race and stuff. I think that demographic has kind of shrunk a lot. Where when we were kids, it was like we're talking about the big exhaust on the car, the LED lighting underneath it. Yeah, Fast and Furious.
And let's face it, Fast and the Furious isn't even Fast and Furious anymore.
Yeah, Fast and Furious is just an action film.
It's gone beyond cars. Cars. It's about family, Richie. That's why. Yeah. Need for Speed is about cars. So there's a branching paths or roads there, I guess.
We'll see. If this game lands well, I think it could. I think this game probably needs to reinvent the franchise a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess at the halfway point, do we think Phil Harrison needs to come out again and say, we've got 5 new games in a new deal with EA? Or do you think he should just say, we're working with EA? And I think
our
the
partnership,
thing for me,
I wouldn't put a number on it. Yeah. Because the number, I think, was a mistake last time, because people like us fixated on the number because that's the info we have. But if you just go, we have a continuous development partnership with EA, we will be bringing more EA games to the platform. Just leave it there.
Yeah, and I think what will break that mould is if we got another game. Like, any EA game comes out now and everyone's going to be like, that's more than 5. And then we can all just stop talking about a numbered amount. But the longer the months in the game, it's like if Grid Legends comes and goes and we don't hear a peep, that just adds more credence to the fact that it was 5 games and we're done. So does that mean no more Jedi Fallen Order sequels, no more FIFA games, no more Madden games? Because if so, that's a bad look. Like, I was hoping we would see EA Play maybe on Stadia by the end of this year. If we don't see any more games, then that might not happen.
That would be a nice way for it to go, actually. But you'd have to get all the games across.
Like, do a Ubisoft and work your way through your catalogue gradually.
You mentioned Jedi Fallen Order, so let's jump over to Respawn. You know the Jedi Fallen Order sequel that everyone talks about? Mm-hmm. Do you realise that's not actually been formally announced?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for information about it earlier. It's like, has this been formally announced? Like, nope. But the Jedi Fallen Order came out 2019. Mm-hmm. So if it comes out later in this year, it'll be 3 years, which seems about right, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's just on the podcasts a few weeks ago, like the assets, the world, the fighting, it's all pretty much nailed on. It's just creating the newer environments and the mocap and the CGI.
Getting the story down, but I'd imagine you've been working on that for like a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, this is one of the ones I would hope to see come. It's definitely in that category where I think it needs to come. Like, and I do think Jedi Fallen Order 2 will be a 2022 game unless it gets delayed into 2023. I'd imagine they're looking at the Christmas period for this late in the year.
Yeah, but it's an interesting one with the sequel because it's different not getting sequels to like racing games and stuff, but when it's like for some reason for me when it's like a storied, it's the next chapter of a continual story
I think
that you're not getting.
I think that's just more towards our interest.
Yeah, true.
So if you were big into racing games, not getting... I know there's a lot of people in the Stadia community who were not happy when like F1 2021 didn't come.
Yeah.
Because they're big into F1. Personally, it didn't bother me personally. Apart from, well, why isn't it coming? That sort of speculation. Yeah. Because I'm just not interested in the sport. But
yeah, it is just the pull of the big titles, though. Again, isn't it? It's like because like Jedi Fallen Order 2 is going to be bigger than the original game. The original game was like a breakout success for EA. They finally got a Star Wars game out the door that was well received upon launch and didn't get shit all over for microtransactions and all these other problems. And if it doesn't come, it's just another kick.
Jedi Fallen Order came out with a lot of baggage with EA and Star Wars and proved us all wrong.
It did. It showed us that
the sequel now has expectation.
It does. And I can't wait to play it.
Yeah.
Like we got Jedi Fallen Order free on Pro last May. Yeah. So yeah, I think again it'd just be another kick in the side if it didn't come.
Yeah. Other Respawn titles, Titanfall. Last game was 2016, but I think that's a dead franchise personally.
I mean, Titanfall exists within Apex now, so. Yeah. I guess the conversation should be, will we see Apex this year at all?
Possibly. I left it off the list because it's an ongoing title and we're looking at things that could launch this year. But I suppose Apex could come. But I think I'm not expecting it, to be honest. I think the potential for Apex to come has already passed, I reckon.
I'd like to think there's still that conversation happening because again we had that rumor it was coming and then it came on the Nintendo Switch has Apex Legends. So at what point are you like, well, obviously the Switch has like millions of users, so they have the player base, but at what point do Google put the money down and say, look, EA, we want to work with you, how much does it cost? EA Play, what's happening with that? You've got it with Game Pass, can we have it? Like, what are the options on the table for Google Stadia to grow their catalogue outside of indie games and AA games, because they don't pull users in. Everyone out there who's a proper gamer knows that it's the exclusives and the big titles that pull gamers into your platform. And if you don't have them, you're just circling the drain at that point. So get them nailed. It's
the concept of a system seller. You think like something like Pokemon and Zelda and Mario are very much system sellers for Nintendo. Mm-hmm. When these games come out, Nintendo's sales of their hardware peaks massively, and then other people will buy other games on the platform. But sticking with Respawn, Medal of Honor, this I think is an interesting one under the shadow of the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Mm-hmm. If Call of Duty
and Battlefield doing terribly bad, as well.
Yeah, if Call of Duty goes single player, goes exclusive, mm-hmm. There's a potential gap in the market for Medal of Honor to make a bit of a comeback. The last game was only in 2020, but it seems to be...
VR game.
Was it a VR game?
Yeah, that's... All right. It's, yeah... I mean, no disrespect to the VR game, but it's not the same as a multi-platform AAA release. I could see after Battlefield 2042, I could see that taking a bit of a hiatus and then maybe pivot back to Medal of Honor and go, remember our other shooter?
this might be the way they do it. Battlefield is going to be our multiplayer game. Medal of Honor is going to be our single player experience.
Yeah.
And you can kind of almost like, you could almost do what Activision do with Call of Duty, where they rotate studios, but rather than rotate studios, you rotate between Battlefield and Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
So to keep this, so you can have a bit more of a run up to each the development of each game. But
indeed.
Yeah. Right. Well, I did say we're going to start with BioWare, and I think we'll end with BioWare.
We got there in the end.
Dragon Age 4 was announced in December 2018, and we haven't seen much since, and it's been
was it that long ago?
It's been 3 years. There's been a quick reading on before this episode. They've had some problems. They've had like people leave, head developers and stuff leave. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I think that Dragon Age 4 needs to be this year. I think it's time. Like, you've announced 3 years ago. If this comes in later this year, towards like the big Christmas period push, that'll be 4 years from announcement. And then for like, we've got things like E3. This could be a big part of your E3 presentation. This could be the lead off. But
you played Dragon Age before, right?
I've played all three of them, yeah.
Yeah, massive. I have not touched any of them, which I guess is the other BioWare game we'll touch on as well, that Mass Effect 4.
Oh, yeah.
They've teased that, and I think that's a quite a whiles away.
It is, yeah. That was teased in December 2020, so it's been a year out. I'm not expecting anything time soon.
Yeah, I know they put
Dragon
out a
Age is BioWare's next big game, I think.
Yeah, I know they put out a poster for the Mass Effect 4, I think, on Mass Effect Day back in November.
Yeah.
Of course, Stadia, we missed out on the BioWare.
Yeah.
We missed out on the Mass Effect Legendary Collection. This past summer, I played through them all on PlayStation. Absolutely loved them. I think it was my third most played game last year on my PlayStation wrap up. And totally love the franchise. I'm even thinking about checking out the fourth game. Yeah, because I've got a few friends who said it's actually not that bad. It just got loads of shit at the time for it not being the continuation of Mass Effect 3. Which Mass Effect 4 looks like it's possibly going to do, but
I personally think BioWare are very much at probably the lowest ebb of their reputation they've ever been. Like, I know the Legendary trilogy was kind of well received. Personally, I had lots of problems and it kind of soured the experience, but that's one person's anecdote. Widespread, except most people enjoyed it and have had a good experience. Before that, the last well-received game I think was Dragon Age Inquisition, and I have mixed feelings about that. I just think the game was less and less interesting the more I played it. Where DragonAge Origins, I think, is one of my favourite games of all time. We don't talk about two. We don't. One of them
was it Inquisition that got Game of the Year at a lot of.
Yeah, I think it was definitely in the mix. I don't know. I just didn't love that game. I came in, I was expected to love it, but there's elements I just wasn't overly fond of, and I've never went back to replay it. Where I have replayed Origins loads of times.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for BioWare to think like their next two games could be make or break for their studio, because after all of the falls, it's like Dragon Age 4 could like bring it back around and be like, yes, it's the best Dragon Age game, and then Mass Effect 4 could bring everyone back into that fold, and then all the firing on cylinders games after the mess that was Anthem.
Yeah,
remember Anthem?
Looking through the list, Anthem 2019 flopped. Andromeda, mixed reviews. Shadow Realms was cancelled. And before that, on the list was Dragon Age Inquisition, which was 2014.
Yeah, so many
So it's like
years.
8 years, excluding Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which are remasters of beloved games. It's a fairly safe win, despite the fact I think they were god-awful to play on launch. From my personal experience, it's been 8 years since they brought out a new game that has landed well. That's not good, BioWare. Like, it's not like they haven't released anything either, though. They've had some misses, so you need to start getting the hits back.
Yeah, I think for me, it's two massive franchises that I would love to see on the platform. When we talk about like the pillars of interest, and we've said many times on the podcast, like Stadia needs to grow their back catalogue at the same time pulling in the new titles, and we've said like the BioShock trilogy, the Arkham trilogy, the Mass Effect trilogy. That would be like a big staple in video game history that you should be fighting to get on your platform.
I'd love to see a remake of Dragon Age Origins. It's very much would need a remake. The game's pretty horrible to look at nowadays, to be kind.
Well, yeah.
I mean, mechanically, I think it's absolutely fine. It does need a good coat of paint.
Yeah.
But
if we look elsewhere as well, obviously the Knights of the Old Republic is getting a full remaster.
Oh God,
not by BioWare, but they're like what they're famous for is getting pulled back together.
Is that under EA though?
No, it's not EA. It's not EA.
Right, I was going to say, how did I miss that?
No, it's PlayStation. Who they teamed up with? I know the name. I can't think of it though. So yeah, but that's like saying aside, like their 3 biggest projects are currently all back in the works, like in some capacity, which is just it's ironic at the same time as it is potentially make or break for them.
Sony Interactive Entertainment. You can't see anything more than that at a quick glance.
It's the guys who did the Nintendo Switch port of Knights of the Old Republic. It's the same studio. They're not like a well-renowned studio. Aspire, yeah.
Aspire,
oh,
yeah. That's Aspire.
Yeah, that's the one. I said Aspire as well the first few times.
Yeah.
Aspire? Aspire. But then, yeah, so aside from those, the only EA titles which I think, we said time and time again, we'd love to see come to the platform. Dead Space is due a remake.
It is. Motive Studios are working on that.
Like horror games are awesome on.
I think it might be expected this year. Dead Space.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. I think it was teased for. But again, Resident Evil landed so well on the platform, both Biohazard and Village, and I've got the bug for it. And I would love to sit down with you and do like a Dead Space playthrough.
Yeah. Also from Motive, I don't think it's going to happen considering how Battlefront 2 went. But Star Wars Battlefront 3 is a potential. Battlefront 2 is 2017. 5 years have passed.
Yeah, again, I would play another Battlefront game. I just believe it should be a games as a service. Like it needs to continue new maps, new characters. Every time another Mandalorian season comes out, new content, and it needs to live like that rather than a sequel franchise.
Battlefront 2, I think they need to give to someone like Respawn, who's got a good reputation at the moment. We want you to make it, so you can go, hey, do you know the guys who made Jedi Fallen Order? That studio of ours you love? They're making Battlefront 3.
And
it's going to have no microtransactions. It's going to have a season pass.
Oh, yeah, they just like
you've got to monetize it somehow. Yeah. Respawn are going to be leading the development, and DICE in combination with DICE, who are going to be once the development's done, DICE are then going to take the lead.
Yeah. That's actually like a perfect combination. Like you said, Respawn did Titanfall 2, which is one of the best story-driven shooters we've seen in years. They've got Apex Legends, so they understand online multiplayer shooters, and they did Jedi Fallen Order, so they understand Star Wars. It's almost like a perfect combination for you to hand Battlefront over to.
It works as a PR move, I think, as well, because that is pretty much what I've described as purely a PR move. It's like DICE are going to take the lead, Respawn are going to be involved, just so we can say Respawn are involved.
And again, no discredit to DICE because the game looked beautiful.
Oh God, it did.
Played well. It was just the board decision to add microtransactions and star cards into it that just messed the whole launch up.
I've talked about star cards briefly before. My reason I hate them is because they unbalance the game. Multiplayer games, I think, should be balanced so you can win on skill. The star cards were designed in a way where if you've been playing for a long time and got enough points and got upgraded your star cards, you just didn't have a chance. There was games that me and you played, it wasn't a Chris, where occasionally we just, no matter what you did, you couldn't defeat, especially like the heroes mode, you just couldn't defeat the enemy because they had better star cards than you.
Damn Emperor, just running around zapping people and you couldn't get him because he just jumped all the time.
That's why, that's one of my problems with it, is like, you brought in these pay-to-win mechanics. Pay-to-win can sod off. Microtransactions should have been kept to cosmetic. In a multiplayer game, you can make as much money as you want off cosmetics, and I'll have no issue with it at all.
Yeah.
But if you bring them into actual gaming mechanics, you break the game.
Yeah. And then I guess final game, Richie, that we said from the beginning when the EA deal was originally confirmed, like what would work well on Stadia and also utilise not only the cloud but the keyboard and mouse aspect, and it was The Sims, and we haven't had a Sims game since 2014 now.
It's worth mentioning that Sims 2014, so what, it's been 8 years? Kind of. Because they've supported it the entire time.
Yeah.
But I think the world's probably ready for a Sims 5.
I think, again, the way games are now, it doesn't need to be a numbered title. It should just be
The
Sims
number,
World.
The Sims.
Or The Sims, yeah.
Just call it The Sims and just announce what you're going to do.
And just iterate on it.
Yeah. Here it is. This is The Sims. We are going to continually iterate on this. And we'll bring in graphical improvements over time, mechanical improvements over time. But this is just going to be a constant ecosystem. And The Sims has basically defined that with the expansions. All you need to do is formalise it. Yeah.
Fun story about The Sims. When the original ones came out on PC as a kid, I think I bought The Sims Vacation
without the
DLC without the main game. Yeah, because I thought as a stupid kid, I just saw the box, thought it's on holiday. You get to send them and make a not a theme pack,
and
but like a holiday
you got
resort.
home and you saw the little thing on the bottom of the box says must have The Sims.
It was $19.99 as well. I remember thinking it's half price. So like, Dad, Mum, can we please get this? Got on, put the disc in. You need the main game. Shit,
Mum, Dad, you're gonna have to buy me the main game now.
Yeah, I think I managed to get a copy of
PC games. You couldn't return them, could you? Either with PC games.
No, you weren't allowed. But I think actually the way around that was you got a friend to lend you the original base game, install the DLC, the DLC expansion pack.
You know what? It might have been me and you. I think I had the base game. I think I stole your expansions and you stole my base game. So we both had the best of both worlds.
That's what you want. I did that with Command and Conquer. EA game, actually. Command and Conquer. Give us Command and Conquer. I know they're working on the remaster of the original. Okay. Give us a new Command and Conquer game with keyboard and mouse.
Again, that's one that must have been so dormant that it didn't even come up in my searches.
They're currently working on the remaster of the original for PC. Yeah. But yeah, obviously Westwood Studios was closed down.
Remastered collection was 2020.
Is it out?
Should be, yeah.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check that out then. But yeah, keyboard and mouse, get it on Stadia.
I know I missed it. I went onto EA's wiki. The way I built this episode, I went on EA's wiki and went onto the studios they owned and went through all the ones that were kind of had a direct link on that page. So I think I missed Westwood Studios.
No, well, they're gone. Westwood shut so
who was it?
It was one of them. Yeah, Redwood.
Yeah,
it was Westwood Studios originally. It's like Maxis. Maxis do The Sims. Are they purely The Sims?
I think so.
Maxis not exist anymore.
They do SimCity as well.
Yeah, SimCity, yeah.
EA Redwood doesn't have... Oh, it's Visceral Games is now.
Visceral, right, okay.
Yeah, it was formerly EA Redwood. That's why I don't know how I missed that.
Was Visceral not closed down as well? I feel like Visceral was shuttered by EA because they got shit for that as well. We're not Visceral not working on that Amy Hennig Star Wars game.
Oh yes, finally yes.
So they're gone as well.
So this is why it's being missed then.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But all in all, I think we can agree. The Sims would be awesome as a multi-platform.
SimCity as well. Bring back SimCity.
Yeah, SimCity, and just utilize the cloud. I want Stadia this year to embrace more games like Humankind, where mouse and keyboard can be utilized because
there's
I just
loads
want to play
of them.
more of them.
If anyone watches the Spiff and Brit, there's loads of games like that. Things like City Skylines, all them sort of games.
Jurassic World.
That are kind of locked in the PC ecosystem Stadia can take advantage of.
Yeah, Planet Coaster, get that over as well.
Yeah.
The Settlers from Ubisoft we covered on last week's show.
Maybe we'll do an episode and stuff like that. PC games that we would like to see come to Stadia.
Richie, you've got it. Note it down, sir. Note it down. But yeah, in general, I think the general consensus is Stadia and EA need to lock down what the future titles are because EA are one of the biggest third-party publishers that are not owned by Microsoft out there right now, with a big slate of titles, huge titles, not only sports, but in general for AAA quality. And studios, we should point out, It Takes Two got Game of the Year for a lot of people last year. That guy, Joseph Fares, is going to be working on a sequel.
It's got Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Yeah, the Game Awards. And I just want to see more games. And silence doesn't help, but there's a lot of stuff, like with the other shows we've done, in the pipeline. Start talking about it. Tell us that these deals are in place and we're going to see these games. Otherwise, there's no one going to be playing the platform throughout the summer because there's nothing out.
Yeah. And you've lost your chance to get Activision, so on board.
Gone.
I wouldn't waste my time if I'm Google trying to get discussing with Microsoft and Activision now. The chance for that is gone.
The chance for that SideQuest episode is gone.
Yeah, we
should have done it first. Should have done it first.
Yeah, we should have done, but we went with WB.
But let us know, folks.
Yeah, But that's all we have time for this week. If there's another studio you want us to discuss, let us know on our Discord server in the link down below. Or if anything else, like we've just came up with an idea in a show during this show. There you go. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. You can get this in the podcast feed. And if you do listen to the podcast feed and the Sounds of Stadia podcast, make sure you rate us. It does help a lot with all the algorithms and all the different places. And the more people like our videos and subscribe to the channel and listen to the stuff, the more these algorithms will serve up to other people, and we'll all make more friends to join in our Discord server and more people to play with. Again, YouTube memberships from as little as 99p, where you can get, well, you already listened to this episode, but if you're listening to this episode on Friday when it goes live, there's another episode probably sat there waiting for you with a very, very special guest, one that you're not going to want to miss. And for as little 99p,
That's it.
it's like the price of a Freddo nowadays. But that's all we have time for you. Thank you very much for listening. My name's been Richie.
My name's been Chris.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Quest completed.